Hello and welcome to the Ignite Leadership Series. Today I am going to have a conversation with Carlann Fergusson, who is joining us all the way from Florida. So I will come back to that in a few moments. I just wanted to jump on and let everybody give everybody a bit of time to jump on live. I'm going to try my best to keep an eye and have a look at Facebook today. I believe there have been people commenting on there and I have been ignoring them. So I'm so sorry. It's not working and coming into my stream here. So I shall be on that today, but you will have to bear with me while I just check that I can get that stream working. Wonderful. I have got Facebook here and I will do my best to keep an eye on that while we're talking. So why do I do this? I like to just share that with you because I think it's so important. I have been working with leaders in the IT industry for it's just about to tick over 20 years now. And I have met some incredible people with some incredible experience. I have seen people begin their careers. I've seen people progress through their careers. I've been very proud to work with some amazing organizations and some amazing talent to help them build high-performing teams. And I've always loved the knowledge that I have managed to gain from working with these people. And I've always wanted to find a way to bring it to the world, I suppose. And thank goodness with LinkedIn Live and Facebook Live, I managed to find a forum where I could bring this to everybody. And then I got some wonderful feedback. And so I started to think about, how can I really up the ante? How can I really level this up so that people can get access to as many mentors as possible? And so I have created a membership. The membership is called the Ignite Leadership Membership, and it's open to anyone who wants to join. And you get access to some phenomenal resources. You get access to some phenomenal mentors. And, I think mentors don't necessarily always come in the shape or the size that we think they will. So they could be anyone in your life who you can learn from, not necessarily an official mentor relationship. I also see mentor relationships, though, no matter what, as two-way as much as possible. So this membership gives you the opportunity to become part of the community. And I think that we are all there to mentor one another. So I would love more mentors in the community sharing their knowledge and their experience and supporting one another. So the membership, there is a link coming, I think, into the comments, hopefully, that you can click on. And I'm going to, I'm offering at the moment a 30-day or 31-day for a month free to just have a look around, have a go, see what's in there and see if it's something that would be valuable to you. And then it kicks into my early bird, which is $49 per month for 12 months. So I would love to see you in there, as would some of the amazing mentors that I'm bringing in. You also get access to some really cool deep dive conversations. There's round tables that I'll be running. So you'll get to sit at the table virtually with the mentors. And they'll also be running some masterminds and doing some teaching for us. And I pop up in there and do a bit of sort of leadership coaching. There's some personal development work. There's all sorts of great things that hopefully will help you level up your leadership and feel less lonely in the world of leadership. And also level up your I was going to say level up, fast track your your path to leadership if it's something that is on your agenda. So that said, we've hit 11:30. Hopefully everybody is finding the link and should be coming on. So I'm going to invite Carlann into our stream now, and I will introduce her from there. Carlann, can you hear us?
Yes. Wonderful to be here.
Thank you for joining us, and all the way from Florida. So it's 8:30 in the evening there for you.
Right. Hence the dark.
Yeah. And we've got, bright. And I know there are a number of people joining us from the US, so that's really exciting too. So welcome to everybody. We usually have a few people from the US on, so love to have more. I've got the chat box here, just so you know. I will divert into that from time to time. In case you can't see, I will read any key comments out. And I just want to do a quick intro on you first so people know who you are and what you're bringing today. So just bear with me. I shall jump into that. So Carlann is a behavioural change expert and author, and she inspires her audiences to discover the source of their greatest attributes and eliminate their most self-sabotaging behaviours. Her memorable advice is based on over 25 years of overseeing organizational change, management, succession planning, executive coaching, strategic planning, and leadership development for global companies, including Visteon. And I will just mention Intel as well, because obviously a lot of the people who are with us on this will be IT focused. So Carlann brings basically a whole lot of IT leadership and change experience, as well as many other industry insights, and is now a practicing leadership coach, and has released a book, The Insightful Leader, Find Your Superpowers, Crushing Limiting Beliefs, Abolish Self-Sabotage, if I can speak, self-sabotaging behaviors. And that book has been endorsed by some incredible thinkers as well. So do look it up and I'll put that link into the notes for this when I do the notes on it as well. So welcome, Carlann.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now, I would love to start our conversation today just by getting a bit of an understanding of how your journey began. And I know it was a really long time ago, but how did you?
Now, wait a minute.
I mean, I shouldn't say it like that. I don't mean it that way, but people always say to me, "Oh, you want to go that far back?" So, let's say it's not that long ago, but when you did get into leadership, what was it that that brought you into leadership, and how did that happen for you?
Well, it's one of those things, and I know this happens all the time, where you look at your leader and you go, I could do that and I could do a better job. And so that's what kind of got me into wanting to go into leadership. I had, always been kind of called out as a leader through school and stuff, but really my gift is being a visionary. So I could kind of see the future focused, and my boss at the time was very tactical. So I thought, yeah, I could bring something to this. And I could, but oops, I didn't have any idea what it took to be a leader.
Yeah, which happens a lot. Mm-hmm. Often I think people bring their top salesperson or their best operations person into a leadership role and just let them run with it. And so, I mean, with that transition, when you were going through that, did you find good mentors as you did it? Was it something you sought out at the time, or did you just think, no, I've got this, I'm gonna put my head down and make it work?
A little of both. Right. So there is that piece of, oh my gosh, now I'm here. What do I do? And let me just make it work. And I'm very determined. So it's like, I will figure this out. But I did have really good mentors. In fact, the head of our agency was the one who really encouraged me to go into leadership. And he was great in encouragement. Not so great at helping me really understand leadership or being a true, mentor in that capacity, but just wonderful of, no, I know you can do it. Here, go do this. And I remember once I took on the leadership role, he goes, okay, I want you to take our full executive staff and all the management levels, I said, well, I can do a diagonal slice. And we were going to do strategic planning. And he's like, I trust you, go do strategic planning for our company, take us through it. And I had never, ever done strategic planning. And he's just like, no, well, go out, figure out how to do it. We'll do it. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So some of the times I didn't feel mentored. I felt a little sink or swim.
Right.
Like, okay, I got to prove myself. I think it was good from a mentorship perspective that I had somebody who cared that much, that I could do well. But it also made me feeling like I didn't have a net underneath the trapeze. And then I had other mentors. I had incredible mentors even outside of the company who taught me all sorts of things. I was just learning organizational development, and I volunteered to do volunteer work for United Way, United Black Fund in Washington, D.C. And I had an incredible mentor there who actually not just taught me organizational development, but she also took me under her wing and gave me a lot of leadership skills. And I did that the same time I was taking on the leadership role. I would go in the evenings. So she was wonderful. So all along my career, just wonderful mentors who believed in me.
That's fantastic. And that's making me, I mean, one of the big things that seems to come up for many of us, and I think is not just when we first move into leadership, but it's that whole, there's a couple of things, imposter syndrome that we're constantly questioning ourselves on. And then the second component that comes to mind is, self-worth and am I good enough? And I don't know, something you've just said there in terms of, and this was obviously when you were much, much younger, and I'm sure these are lessons that you've had to learn along the way. It is that there was someone kind of lifting you up and making you feel like you were good enough at the time. And that was something that obviously was really important to you. How's that changed through your journey in terms of what you've needed from leaders?
I definitely suffered from not good enough. And it was kind of like a push-pull thing. There was times when I was like, I could do this, and I'd talk myself up, and then I'd get it and go, not good enough, and I had a little bit of the perfectionism syndrome going on as well with that. It was really critical to my career to figure that out, because that's at a subconscious level. You're not even aware that it's going on, as you know, right? And it's one of these things just undermining your effectiveness. The way that it showed up for me and the way it undermined me is I was scared to ask for help. I tried to go it alone a lot of times. And I wish I had learned early on. I wish somebody had said to me, look, just, go out of your comfort zone. I know it's a fear. Just go out of your comfort zone and ask and be vulnerable. I didn't do that. And it's funny, other people assume we don't do that because, it's ego or pride. It's not, it's fear. It's fear that for me, mine was, I was worried I would be seen as weak if I asked. And I remember one time where it happened multiple times until I figured out this subconscious thing. But I remember one time in particular because I let it go on for way too long. And it was, I didn't understand EBITDA. Finance has never been a strong point for me. I didn't understand it. Here I am a manager. So I just, yeah, okay, sounds good. Shake your head in the meetings, go, yeah. Oh, that's great. Yay, we made EBITDA, whatever that is. And so I faked it for quite some time. And I got promoted. Now I'm a director and I still don't get EBITDA. And I finally, the pain of not knowing was high enough to get over the fear of having to ask somebody. And so I sought out this really incredible finance director who I knew would keep it confidential that I was coming to him. And I just said to him, look, can you please just explain it to me like I'm in third grade? And he did it, I learned it and I could talk to it, but how crazy is that to wait that many years to actually say, I have no clue.
Yeah. And so what did it give you when you worked it out?
It made me realize that asking was not a weakness. It was, if I had done it sooner, it would have been a strength, right?
Yep.
So the next time, something that I didn't know, I would just say, excuse me, I just don't know what that is. Or maybe I do, and you're using a different acronym, but can you please just help me with this?
Yeah.
Right? And so, yeah, it helped me a lot, because I don't know where as leaders we get the idea we have to know everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Sven, someone's just commented, no one knows EBITDA. Maybe you'll have to have a chat to Sven so you can help him work it out.
Yeah.
I'm just going to check in on the chat box for a second, because I've been a little bit rude and ignored everybody. So I've got Brian Jones on. Hi, Brian. Simon Spencer. Hello. And we've got Marcus Simonetti is there as well, and Sven's commenting as well. Please do chime in, guys, if you have any questions or you have any comments. We would love you to join in the conversation. And Marcek, sorry, did I say hi to Marcek? Sorry, now out of the chat box again and back to the conversation. So interesting that you say, when I asked you, what did it give you? You didn't comment on, well, it gave me the knowledge on EBITDA. It actually just taught you, and I think that's so true. When we do face our fear and we do make that step, take that step, it just makes us realize how easy it is, or how and people like to educate us. If we ask someone to share their knowledge with us, I think that a lot of times, unless you ask 3 or 4 times, they enjoy sharing that with us.
Yes.
Yeah. And
they light up, right? That's the best part of the mentorship, right? People love to talk about what they love.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when you feel like it's hard to ask, if you can put your mindset into the place where you're actually giving them something by giving them the opportunity, that's a good way to get over it, because that's the first step is getting over ourselves, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's recognizing and naming the fear. Yeah. What is that fear about?
Yeah.
Right. And for me, it truly was, I'm going to be seen as weak if I ask the question. For somebody else, it's something different. Yeah. But, if you can name it and then go, whoa, wait a minute, where'd that come from?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And so just sort of dipping back into your journey again, because I think some of these things, some of the lessons we learn are the most powerful things we can share with people, to help them sort of get more comfortable with being uncomfortable, I think, to an extent. What was a key? I mean, you've obviously taken on all these roles. You've just kept moving forward. Any light bulb moments for you as a leader in terms of how you showed up, or areas that you needed to work on?
Yes.
And how did you go about overcoming that?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, my strength is the vision. Yeah. And because I can see it so clearly, and the way I process information, I see patterns. Right. So I see patterns. I can see that endpoint. Even when I talk about it, I start with the end in mind and I work backwards.
Right.
Most people, that's only about 30% of the population that does that. And 70% are more linear thinkers. So my team was more linear thinkers, and I was totally leaving them behind, and frustrating them, frustrating me. I was frustrating them because they're like, how are we going to get there? Where are you going with this? We haven't even gone to step 1. And then frustrating to me because I thought I was clearly communicating it. And I was saying inside my head, why can't they see it? Why can't they see it? They couldn't see it because I wasn't communicating in a way that they needed to hear it. So my greatest strength, when it became overused, became my biggest liability. Mm-hmm. And my greatest strength, like everybody's greatest strength, I believe, comes from our survival beliefs, our adversity. So my adversity was, caused this visionary to say, there's got to be a better tomorrow. And so I was very intense in my visionary skills. And I would push too hard because it was so important to have that better tomorrow that I would get impatient and push too fast, too soon, too hard. I wasn't thinking about all those detailed steps that had to occur to get there. I was just thinking in these major chunks.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I learned that through feedback, the gift of feedback. Carlann, you're pushing too hard. And the companies loved me for my visionary ability. That's why they put me in charge of so many large scale changes. Because it was like, we know she'll figure out the future. We know she'll figure out a plan to get us there. And great, go do that. But then I would push too hard. And I would get overly excited that we had to I'd unintentionally shorten timeframes. So I had to learn to realize that that was a fight or flight response for me, and to breathe, right? And to allow more space and more time and for buy-in, for moving it forward. And I think most all leaders have that type of fight or flight behavior attached to something.
Yeah. Just talking of feedback for a second, how did you handle receiving the feedback? Out of interest?
Mind chatter wise, not well, right? But here I was, I think I was a director at the time overseeing organizational development, leadership development. Also, I knew I had to take the feedback well, right? So I was like, okay, can you tell me specifically what you see me doing? Thank you very much. And all the right things. And then I left the meeting with my mind chatter going 100 miles a minute about, I don't push people. What do you mean I push people? I don't push people. What do you mean I'm intense? I'm not intense. This internal thing going on. And that when you get like that, when you're that defensive, it's true. It's so true. You don't want to face it. So I got it all out in my head, well, actually I probably went home. I know I went home and I went to my husband and was like, can you believe that? They told me I pushed too hard. And he's just like, yeah. Because of course I have a vision at home too. So he's just like, smart man. And once I got it all out, it's like that balloon, right? You got to get all that air out. And then you go, oh crap, it's true. And then you can look at it. And then you can look at it with curiosity and go, okay, so what do I do that causes that? And so that was a huge learning, and it was one of the ones that took me deeper into figuring out that this was actually a fight or flight behavior, because was not even consciously aware of it at the time.
Yeah. This just goes to the power of doing the internal work as a leader. And, I think a lot of leaders, I don't want to say everybody, but there is a propensity to not take on the feedback and breathe in the air and then, self-reflect. And without that, for me, and without the curiosity, there's just no potential for growth. And I just think what you've just said is so powerful, is just, being able to, yes, you can go through the, whatever you have to go through to get there. But when you get there, stopping and self-reflecting and just taking a moment to consider, what could this be? And asking the questions of yourself first, and before you even ask other people in the next phase is a good thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the reason I wrote the book too, was to help people figure out what their superpower was, because I kept seeing the same patterns. I've been coaching for 30 years and you see the same patterns. They're the person who's the over analytic, but they come across uncaring. Raise your hand, that's me, right? So, you have more than even one superpower. The problem finder who has to go through and they start every meeting, or every conversation with what's wrong with this rather than what's right with it, because they have to find those pitfalls in order to, quash their fight or flight. And it gets too much. And what I found is people would go through the descriptors, and I start with how this is a gift. And they're like, yeah, that's mine, that's mine. And then they get to the, and here's how when it's overused. And they're kind of like, oh, I just got called out.
Yeah. 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 No, it's a great thing. And it really enhances everything about your life when you start looking at it a little bit differently. And it just, when you're that stress, I think when you're in that, you don't realize quite
Mhm.
how stressful it is. And then when you can work on the inner stuff and you can consider, a new way. And I've seen people do this at different stages, but often not too late, but fairly late,
Yes.
we've had a pretty tough, stressful life leading up to that, because it's hard to get balance when when things are playing out for you that way. And you're constantly fearful to a degree.
Well, and we keep getting reinforced for it, right?
Yeah.
That is what gets
Yeah.
promoted, so you get promoted, gets reinforced, so it gets stronger. And then you get promoted again and it gets stronger. So by the time that you're in the executive ranks and somebody starts to help you discover what this is for you, you're just like, oh my gosh, I
Mhm.
got, some work to do.
Mm.
If we could figure it out earlier in our careers, if companies would provide more opportunity to figure those things out earlier
Mm.
before, oh, you need an executive coach, right? Because you have these behaviors that are too much, right? That would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I'm going to, this is so powerful. And I'd written down actually before when you were talking, lead to strengths. And so I'd love to just, if we get time, touch on that again. But we've got 8 minutes left on the clock. And I'm
Oh,
just
wow.
looking at, I know. I'm just going to check in on the chat box again, because I think there's some few questions that have come through. So if you don't mind, I'll throw those.
Sure.
So Cheryl has said, and it was a while ago, so great share. We can't know everything. Use courage to ask and leverage the expertise of others. Absolutely, Cheryl. Fully endorse that. Sven says, given your early reliance on mentors and people who believed in you, how has it shaped how you mentor others? That's a great question.
Yeah. It is a give back thing. When people mentor you, you mentor others. And, as a leader, that's part of your role anyway, is to mentor your team. But I probably always saw the capability of people at the next level, whether that was being a specialist at the next level or whether they're going into management. And so I always tried to nurture that, even to the point sometimes that people were uncomfortable. And, you're going through, and I would give them specifics why I thought they could do that next thing. But it's still nerve-wracking to push somebody out of their comfort zone. So, mentoring as a leader. And then we had a lot of formal mentoring programs within the companies I worked. So I always served as a mentor in those. Just, mentoring kids. I teach for Northwestern now, where I see my role as a instructor to also be mentor. So I think those office hours are really important to help people, and people take advantage of that, which is great. I think if you're in a leadership role, you need to give back. So many people helped me, so many, right? And I'm wondering, did I, as a coach, of course, you're helping people, but as a mentor, have I done enough?
Yeah. No, that's great. And I think I think it needs to be two ways proactive. And I think, I say to people all the time, seek out your mentors. You don't need to ask them for a whole lot of their time, but just to have some sort of connection. And you don't always need to even know the person. I mean, I've got some amazing mentors I've had in my life who I've never even met. But a lot of the time now you can reach out to people and connect with them in, across the internet and that kind of thing. So you can still ask questions, and you can still connect in those ways. But I think also it's important to see it as a two-way scenario. So, not one of us has ever reached our peak. Not one of us has ever learned everything we need to know. So you're always learning. And the things I learned from my kids, extraordinary. And, I would never tell them that. No, I'm kidding. but it's about having, it can be a two-way discussion. It's not just like you're sitting there, and it should never be that way. If you're going to get the best out of a mentor, you need to be open to a two-way conversation and to challenge one another to a point, I think.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Your point about you're always learning is true. I remember that one of the things, and I still do this, if I need to attend like a training or something, someone said, well, you've got to go to this training. And I go, oh, I've done that one before. I used to always set a game with myself. I'm going to find 3 things in this training that I don't know that I can implement. Right. So I think that the same can be true with when you are watching your peers lead, when you're watching the next level lead, is to play that kind of game to say, every single person has an incredible gift. What can I learn from that person? Even if I'm not in a formal mentorship with them, I can still pull really incredible things from each individual, and I can think, they all come flooding through my mind right now, all the things I learned from even leading a meeting correctly, from somebody who was just brilliant at it.
Yeah.
And ask them for that little bit of time to say, you're brilliant at leading these meetings. Can I sit down with you? And this mentor wasn't even somebody at a higher level. They were one of my supervisors. And I was like, can I sit down with you to learn this? Because you are just wicked good at this. And, he's more than happy to do that. So whether you're going up, down, across the organization or whatever, people are willing to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a great way of finding connection with people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I'm going back into the questions. So hopefully, Sven, that's covered that for you. I think more than covered. That's brilliant. Jane Isset has said, you have to take on the criticism and self-reflect to move on. Always right. Absolutely right.
Yes.
Always right. Yeah, absolutely. Cheryl says, Carlann, can you share how you help leaders bring strengths into balance and weighing up your superpowers?
Yeah. So it's quite a journey, right? When you do this, as you start to look at how does that show up for you, what's the pattern, then I actually go back to those survival beliefs. So what are those survival beliefs that are in that subconscious creating that overuse of this power? And then what was the fear associated with that? Now we're getting back into early childhood usually. And it doesn't have to be that, you came from strong adversity, your parents didn't do whatever. A lot of times it is things that seem uneventful even as an adult, but as a child were traumatic. And, I had the adversity thing. And so I got a lot of superpowers from it, but a lot of those fears from it. And yet, somebody else I'm coaching, and I'll share this story because I've asked him before if I could share the story, and he's like, sure. And I think it's just a brilliant way of looking at it, that sometimes it's not something we're even consciously aware of, where he was asked in elementary school to pick a part of a play out of, the teacher's box of roles. And he's an extremely shy kid. And all he wanted to do was be in the chorus, or he wanted to be a tree, but please don't give me a speaking part. So he goes in, he reaches and he picks, and he's in the chorus, and he's so elated. He's so excited, exactly what he wanted. And so the teacher's going around the circle and making sure every kid is picking theirs. And one kid says, this isn't fair. Some of the parts have unraveled and we can see them, so people know what they're picking. And she said, well, okay, let's do it again. And she closed them all up really tight and had them all pick again. And he was just like sweating over it. He picks his, he got the lead.
Oh.
Yeah, and he was just devastated, and he tried to plead with her, please, please don't make me the lead. There's no way I can't do it. And she's like, no, you've got the lead. Don't worry, you'll be fine. And so he went home and he pleaded with his parents. And please, please don't make me be the lead. Tell my teacher. He actually got physically sick. His parents wouldn't listen. They were all proud, right? Think of it as a parent. You're like, yay, my kid's the lead. And so he had a really hard time. For him, this was extremely scary. The night of the play, he had to be dragged on the stage by both his mom and his teacher. And when we started doing this work as to why this, very mild-mannered, really great listener, right, could all of a sudden flip and be like extremely strong, he started to realize that back then he made a survival belief of, you will not discount me. You will always listen if I have something important to say. And he was not asserting his needs early enough. So he would be kind and ask very nicely, but then if it didn't happen, boom, right, I'll come with this person. And it wasn't anything, his parents were well-meaning, the teacher was well-meaning, but as a kid, that was traumatic. And so you have to look at it from your child brain, not your adult brain.
Yeah. And these things stay with you and you don't know. That
No.
It's 100% unconscious. And you have no idea until you do know. And then when you can shift those things, huge power in that. Huge power. And I love the concept of having a superpower versus because you can get two things out of a situation as well. Ultimately you can turn it into a superpower. And I've got stories from my childhood that absolutely I've tapped into and realized, actually that's a superpower, whereas it was holding me back. So powerful stuff. And there's a whole lot more I'd love to talk to you about. Strength and so forth. I think we're going to have to do that on another conversation. So what we'll do is we'll do and I know you've said that you'll be okay with this. We'll do a deep dive session as well, where we can get really sort of into some of this stuff, and we'll put that into the membership, which I know you're going to be an active part of. So I'm very excited to have you in the community there as well.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very cool. Now, just to say, Marcus Simonetti, if you're not seeing the messages, is saying hi. And Reed Tolley is asking, he asked a question about your books, but he did say strongly recommend The Insightful Leader. So, anyone who, as I say, we'll put a link. I'll go back into this post afterwards and I'll pop a link in there so that you can get the book if you want it. And do, if you want to join the community, you'll be able to come and chat to Carlann in there. Otherwise, you can connect with her on LinkedIn as well. The other question that Reed asked was, how do your two books connect? Did the first inspire the second? So is there a second book? I wasn't aware of the second book.
Oh, I did a workbook quite some time ago. That was basically so people could figure out how, it was called Chutes and Ladders. And it was, and spelled SHOOTS and ladders. And it was to help you identify some of the gaps when you're moving from level to level to level, so that you could figure those things out. So they somewhat connect in that we're trying to get people to be more successful leaders, but it's a different way of looking at things. The other one was built more from information that I garnered from doing succession planning for so many years.
Yeah.
But I hope to do another book next year sometime, and that one will be on self-doubt.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very important. That's a big book. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we need to stop doing these, get in the mirror and tell yourself some affirmations. That's not going to take care of it. You're not getting to the root. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. probably about some of the stuff we were talking about before.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. This has been amazing. I'm so sorry that we have to finish up. Thank you so much to everybody who's come and joined us today. Please leave us a comment if you are watching the replay. And as I say, if you want to get more access to wonderful mentors, Carlann included, then and you know, Carlann's a fabulous coach as well. So I have a fellow coach in the community with me also. Then please do just click the link. You'll get a month to have a look around at no cost. So just, you know, at least do that. Have a look at the people who are in there. Have a look at the conversations that are in there. There's a huge amount of value I think you can grab. So, and again, thank you so much, America. Thank you so much, Australia, and anyone else who's on. I love the fact that you can go global with this now. It's exciting times in that sense.
It is. It is.
And we'll let you go and have a lovely evening.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. This was wonderful. It was so much fun.
Very welcome. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I look forward to the next one.
Great.
All right.
Good night, everybody, and good morning.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon. See you next week. Actually, next week I have Jay Johnson, who is a sales optimization mentor / coach who's coming to join us. Been in the IT industry for many years. So I'm excited to have Jay joining us next week. We'll see you there. All right. Take care.